afternoon, sports fans. Adam Shalfu with Devin Fry. Devin, good to see you.
Or non-sports fans. We don't want to alienate here.
That's a good point.
I think we talk about enough.
That's a good point.
Like in each of these, that like fan and non-fan alike could enjoy it.
Yeah, and maybe you're a fan of one of the teams we're going to talk about, and you're not a fan of the other team.
Or maybe you're just a fan of myself.
Maybe you're a Devin fan. Yeah.
I don't blame you either way.
Hey, you know.
I'd be fans of us, I think, if I didn't work here.
I think so.
Maybe.
Maybe. You know, one of the good ones.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the good ones. Anyway, we have just a lot to talk to. And, you know, Devin, it's kind of crazy because we've been so busy. I think the last time I actually talked to you was just ahead of the Dakota Bowl.
Yeah, I think that's right.
You throw in the holiday busy. You throw in some sports busy. And we're finally circling back, and just a lot to talk to. Normally, we're not talking this early in the week, but you got the UND coaching search.
Yep.
You got major transfer potential for NDSU football. You got the FCS playoff bracket. You got a potential location move for the FCS Championship game for some coming years, and so that's just a little teaser. We'll get into the details.
And there's a playoff game in the Fargo Dome this Saturday, so I mean
that too.
We got a few things to
talk about. Yeah, so a lot to get to. I feel like makes most sense to just start up north.
Yeah, I agree. UND looking for a new head coach now. Bubba Schweigert announcing over the Thanksgiving weekend that he would be moving into an administrative role within the university. So he's still going to be around up there, still going to be kind of an ambassador to fans from the football program, which is still that's a good thing to have, obviously. But you know, when you have a move like this, it's easy to kind of make assumptions over what the circumstances were around it, especially with how UND's season went this past year. They were ranked 7th in the country like 5 games in, and then ended up losing 5 of their last 6 to miss the playoffs entirely. And so with the circumstances around that, there's a ton of rumors going around, but all we can know for sure is what Coach Schweigert told us, which was straight up, it was just time. And we all kind of get to that point, especially when he's been head coach at UND for 11 years. Yeah. I think he has about 40 years of coaching total, and so it's been going at it for a long time. And so kind of getting some fresh blood into the program, and that's how Coach Schweigert described it as well. But I do think one thing that's really important in this is them locking down the interim role, which it's interesting because the initial press release said that Coach Schweigert was going to hold on to the role until they found the replacement, but then the next day they hired Isaac Frichte, they elevated Isaac Frichte to interim head coach. He was their offensive coordinator, joined the team from Winona State last year. And so he now has that interim role, and the reason why that's so huge to have that locked down and to have somebody leading the program at that role is just where we're at in the year. Obviously it's playoff time, National Signing Day is this week. The transfer portal reopens next week. And so you have to be able to manage all of these things. And when you're undergoing a nationwide coaching search, Bill Shaves, our athletic director, I think opened the press conference by saying that he's probably the most popular person on the planet right now. His phone's ringing off the hook with people trying to get this job. And so with that big of a search going on, you really want to have the day-to-day figured out, especially as you're trying to bring recruits in who now the head coach that recruited them isn't there anymore. Yeah. Transfers, we see it nationwide. Every single time a coach leaves a program, there tends to be a mass exodus of players. We were lucky to avoid that at North Dakota State last year when Matt Entz left. UND's trying to do the same thing, avoid that mass exodus there. But they're also going to be pretty aggressive in the portal. Coach Frichte told us that he has a list of guys at each position.
That's why you have to get that interim, man, because this is not the job that it was pre-portal.
Right.
You know, college football coach is 365 days a year responsibility at this point.
And this job has changed in 4 years. It's an entirely different animal right now with the portal and everything like that, which the portal doesn't open until December 9th, but with all the traffic that we've been seeing through there, you would think. We'll talk more about the transfer portal in a bit. No, and you know, we talked to Bill Shaves, our athletic director, at the press conference yesterday, which is kind of what goes into this coach's search. And he was just kind of, we asked straight up, is a UND connection necessary? He said it'd be nice, but it's really not like a be-all, end-all to get this role. And I think fans are at the point, they want somebody fresh in at that head coach level. I think, now this is where I'm going to give my analysis because I'm able to do that on this. I have more than a minute and a half on this to talk about it.
Of course.
I think what North Dakota needs to do is really get a defensive-minded coach right now.
Okay, interesting.
Well, because their offense has been fine.
Yeah.
Let Fricky lead the offense exactly how he did last year. Or even if, so I think there's really 3 routes you can go with it. And the 2 are like actual, like are named candidates I can think of for head coach. You either take the tag off of Fricky and just kind of try to keep that consistency going. Obviously, he's an offensive-minded guy, but he will be able to at least run that offense exactly the same way.
Yeah.
And so you won't have that to worry about. But if you want to bring some defensive mind into it, I think the top candidate right now is out of USD and one of the best defenses in the country at the FCS level, Travis Johansson, their defensive coordinator. That would be the first person I get on the phone to.
It'd be a signature hire.
Yeah, I think it would be huge. Now, the thing that I thought was going to be the biggest block for that is Northern Iowa is trying to hire a head coach right now as well, but they just announced they're hiring someone from Drake. So, in theory, Travis Johansson, that door is open. And then from there, those are like the 2 like specific ones I could think of. The third option is you find a diamond in the rough somewhere that you think is going to come in and be able to take the reins of the program. I think there's some names at the D2 level to consider. I think Brent Bolte out of Bemidji State with the defense that the Beavers have had. I think that would be a big hire as well. There's a ton of options, and it's when you have a nationwide search like this. But so they have to be thorough with it. They have to explore all of these options. But the listing that they posted online, that search was only going until the 4th. That's tomorrow. So they're trying to hire a new head coach fast. And with the portal signing day, you have to hire somebody fast at this point.
That's a dangerous game to play.
Very.
And it's like you're darned if you do and you're darned if you don't kind of situation where I think you want to be able to take as much time as you can, but at the same time, you cannot afford to take as much time as you can.
So you have to have, of course, you're going to sacrifice some of the thoroughness when you're doing it this quickly. You have to at least do your due diligence with every candidate that you can and get it whittled down as fast as you can. Because in the day and age of college football right now, with athletes as empowered as they are, it really makes a difference how quickly these guys get in, especially with that portal looming. So UND is trying to get that figured out fast, and just kind of move on from the Bubba Schweigert era, while also keeping him at that administrative role.
And I think that he's such a important figure for the program. I do like that he's sticking around, and I think that could potentially ease some of the recruiting. Where it's like, okay, the guy's not the head coach anymore, but he's still very much there. And I expect some boots on the ground and a lot of input. But, it is, you just look at the last few years, a lot of really high highs, a lot of really low lows.
Correct.
And so I think that UND probably just looking for more, they've been good, but they haven't really been consistently good. And if they can, that's kind of their next step, because you look at all the other Dakota schools and they have taken that next step. USD, obviously, the rest of them as well.
Yes, South Dakota State. North Dakota State's been taking that step up since like 2010.
And it looked like UND was taking that step.
Well, when they won, obviously it was the COVID year, so that wrench gets thrown into it. But when they won a share of the Missouri Valley, their first year in it, that should have been the start of something really big there. And it still might be. We don't know where this is going to go. And I'm not saying that UND's had failures of years either. Like, they're still a postseason regular.
And their offense is amazing.
Yeah,
and the way they navigated losing so much of their line, you lose Tommy Schuster, and they still put a pretty good product on the field, but they did fall off a cliff.
Right, and that's probably going to be the biggest thing that they're going to want to see in this program. And I'm talking, by they, I mean administration, fans, players. You're going to want consistency, because you tend to start the year off hot, and then something happens towards the end of the year. You end up losing the majority of your games. You lose in the first round of the playoffs, or you miss the playoffs entirely. So they're going to look for that consistency throughout the schedule. And that consistency goes to winning games on the road as well. They did not win on the road this year. And road struggles have been a hallmark of the team lately. So, I mean, just trying to build that consistency, that's going to be the biggest thing for North Dakota as we kind of move into this year. And then, we have some other stuff to focus on too now, though.
Yeah, let's talk about the teams who are still in it. And that's NDSU, man. Yep. I'm very excited for this one. Abilene Christian. I did not know they are led by Nick Holt.
Yeah.
You probably know this already, but I happen to know this from my friend RJ. Okay. He was Nick Holt's neighbor back when he was a coach at USC.
Oh, nice.
And so I heard about Coach Holt a lot growing up from one of my good friends. And I was like, oh my gosh, Nick Holt. I texted him. And,
Oh, nice.
you know, and then he gave me some potentially,
Yeah.
you know, some opinions on the Wisniewski.
You know.
We'll get to. Anyway, we're getting off track here. But yeah, Nick Holt, very respected guy who's had a lot of success at the D1 level. Well, what I mean is like at USC back in like the Reggie Bush era of USC football, and they had some great defenses there. Palomalu. But
those linebacking cores were legendary.
yeah. So a nice little test coming in. I believe it was like the number 15 in the latest polls against the number 3 in the latest polls.
Correct. And Abilene Christian, they also have they have a good passing attack, which I always like to see because, you know, in the Valley, we get so used to just smash mouth football all the time, which I love. I'm a big run the damn ball guy, but at the same time, seeing a team in here that likes to throw the ball and do so efficiently, that's going to be good. And so the Abilene Christian matchup is very fresh. These two teams have never played before because Abilene Christian just moved up like a decade ago. And so it's a very fun matchup to kind of see. And this, to me, this is what this like second round of the playoffs is all about. A new team, new style to prepare for. And North Dakota State's also had to sit on not the result they wanted to end the year either. That 1-point loss to South Dakota has now been sitting in their mouths for almost, it's going to be 2 weeks at kickoff. And so if they weren't hungry for playoff football, they're certainly going to be hungry to get that taste of the South Dakota loss out of their mouth. So North Dakota State and Abilene Christian opening things up. They will then get the winner of Mercer and Rhode Island, and then it's a big old mystery from there. The other half of that bracket features,
let's pull that up for the good people at
let's
home.
show the people. This is for you, the people. So if we go down to the bottom half of that side of the bracket, it's Incarnate Word and Villanova, and then South Dakota State and Montana, which is a Frisco rematch in the second round of the playoffs, which is kind of fun.
And this could be a bloodbath. You know, I think South Dakota State wins.
I do.
And handles Montana, but Montana's really good.
They have they've had such a hit or miss season.
Yeah. Like if they're playing their absolute best football, I wouldn't put it past them.
The problem is you never know when they're going to be playing their absolute best
and that
football.
is the issue.
And even against Tennessee State, that final score, that 41-27, that doesn't show how close this game really was for most of it. Junior Bergen is still an absolute freak, returning another punt for a touchdown against Tennessee State. So he was a massive difference maker for Montana there. But then the other side of the bracket, UC Davis, Illinois State, that feels like a national semifinal to me, if I'm being honest. South Dakota and Tarleton on the other side of that. So that one's huge as well. South Dakota has them getting the 4th seed. Now, there's two ways to look at it. They beat North Dakota State but still got stuck with the 4 seed. You could take that as a fence. On the other hand, they avoid South Dakota State or North Dakota State on the other side of the bracket. Their biggest test, if they make it to the semifinals, will be Montana State if they make it to the semifinals.
Well, the first thing I looked at when the bracket even came out is I'll scroll up here is NDSU on the same side of bracket as SDSU?
Yeah.
And they are. And that's going to be crazy because I feel like, you know, you could look at the thing at large, and USD or Montana State, I feel like one of those teams is destined to come out.
Idaho could throw a wrench in things, frankly. I think Idaho could throw a wrench in it as far as, you know, the team that upsets one of those top 4 seeds. But this really could be a year where it's those top 4 seeds to make their way to Frisco. And so I'm very excited to see where this playoff goes. The brackets in my office are abysmal. We need to talk about the people in our station and their ability to pick FCS games. We'll talk more about that as the playoffs go on, but the first round was not pretty for some of them. I'm looking at you, Preston. I don't know if you can hear me right now. If you're watching this, we need to talk about your bracket, but I digress. Playoff football, especially at the FCS level, is such a fun thing, and I love tournaments, and so playoffs are very exciting for me. And the Fargo Dome in the playoffs when it's a big environment. Obviously, their only home playoff game last year before they had to go through Montana State, then South Dakota, then try to go through Montana, which was brutal. Their only playoff game was in the first round against Drake, and I think the Fargo Dome might have been like 8% full. It was, Thanksgiving weekend. It wasn't. it wasn't the best showing.
I really hope it's packed, man. It's just so much more fun.
With the excitement that the team has generated this year, rightfully so. I think we'll have a better turnout for this. However, there is going to be those people who will always, if it's a team that's not in the Missouri Valley, they're like, NDSU is going to win anyway. We're not. We saw that in Incarnate Word a couple of years ago. Incarnate Word almost won.
That was one of the greatest games I've ever seen.
And we were up in the press box, losing our minds over what was his name? Their quarterback, Lindsey Scott.
Yes. Yeah. I almost said Lindsey Hunter, former Detroit Piston, 20 years ago. Lindsey Scott Jr.
Yeah.
I think he's still on the Jets technically, maybe the practice squad.
Maybe practice squad, but no, Lindsey Scott put on a show in the Fargo Dome.
Yeah.
And then NDSU coming back to win that game after everyone and their mother declared it over. So like when you have this kind of, for a lack of a better term, narrow mind about what the field of FCS teams is, you miss out on some incredible games. And so hopefully we get a good showing for Abilene Christian. But yeah, North Dakota State back in action for the first time it'll be 2 weeks since we've seen. And like we talked to we just talked to Coach Polasek about their kind of preparation during this period. And he told us obviously the loss to South Dakota being a big motivator going into this game. But he also talked about just kind of his style for this playoff bye week, and he says that he looked back at what kind of each coach's schedule was from North Dakota State, looked at Chris Kleiman's, looked at Matt Entz's, and he obviously knew the others. And so he just kind of based his plan off that and decided that they needed to be more physical in this time. And so today was actually their off day. They have to have one off day in the 7-week period.
Right.
But the rest of it has been smash mouth physical practice getting ready for the playoffs.
Well, I like that because at this point, you're going to get hit. You want to be the toughest team.
Right.
It's going to be a gauntlet. And the road to Frisco, it seems like every year, the last year that James Madison was in.
Yeah.
Dogfight.
Yeah.
You look at the dogfight against Incarnate Word. Yep. They look like they're going to get run out of the building early.
And Montana in overtime last year. Not on the right side of the scoreboard, but it was a battle. And
it seems like it's destined to be South Dakota State. It just seems like the most likely scenario if they're able to make it to that semifinal.
I'll be mad at any of these teams that interrupt a possible North Dakota State versus South Dakota State semifinal, quite frankly. I will. If you mess this up, Montana or Incarnate Word or Villanova, then I will not send my kid to your school. How do you like that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm putting high stakes on this one.
Well, he's going to get a full ride somewhere anyway.
Better. So. You got to beef that kid up. I'm trying to have Alabama call. But no, he only has to gain like 300 more pounds and like 6'4" more inches. So he'll do fine.
That's going to be a tall baby.
I hope so.
It's not like he's only 2 inches tall now.
Yeah, no.
So he's going to be like 7'2"?
Oh, no, I don't want that. Then he'll just play basketball.
So more like he has to grow like 5'8" inches.
Right, okay. That's fair. Yeah. I want him about 6'3", 6'4". That'd be good for him.
Okay.
But definitely, I'm looking around that 325 mark.
Okay.
Trying to get him as a guard or tackle.
Yeah. Put some creatine in the baby formula.
He's my retirement plan. I'm telling all of you this now. And then it's not just playoff football that North Dakota State's looking forward to. They also have signing day, like I mentioned, in the portal reopening. They lost one in the portal already. Now this one is interesting. Cole Wisniewski in the portal now. I didn't prepare any Wisniewski video, but we have some from yesterday's show, so that's on me. I'm sorry. But Wisniewski, he missed this year with an injury. He had one, I believe it was just that 1 foot injury that required multiple surgeries. And so that just kind of took him out. And we were just talking to Coach Balsek about, getting him back out there and possibly getting him in some playoff games to close out the year. I thought that Cole was going to be done at North Dakota State this year, whether...
I was kind of thinking NFL draft.
That's what even not drafted, like just going to a professional team. But now it looks like, he's going to be playing his last year of eligibility for, I imagine he has an idea of an FBS opportunity.
Yeah, and I feel like that's
the only way you take that.
Yeah, because you're not leaving NDSU to go to another FCS school.
Well, and he told us that he turned down NIL money in the past, last year. Because obviously, with that, his first season at safety, he got 8 interceptions. He was getting a ton of looks after that.
And you know who else, kind of weird comp here, but Brian Urlacher. Played safety in college, 6'4", super fast, super great at playing, either position. But like he's not a normal safety.
Right.
He
he's
can hit like a linebacker.
Right. And so he provides a unique skill set for sure. his health has to be a concern at this point.
Especially foot injuries.
Yeah.
They can get really complicated.
As we saw, because we thought multiple times that he was getting ready to come back, and then it just never happened. So curious to see where Wisniewski goes. That's our biggest name in the portal from our area team so far. The rest have not really been starters or people that you would know coming off of the field. Trey Feeney, the former Moorhead Spud, from the UND football team. He left the UND football team after fall camp when he lost out on the starting job. He's officially in the portal now, or entering the portal now, so he can start talking to other teams. So Trey Feeney and Cole Wisniewski, probably the two biggest names in our area right now that are in the portal. And we're just getting started on portal season, everyone's favorite time. Also, another thing to watch out for, FBS rosters, they're getting cut down to, I believe, 105 players. And so there's going to be a lot of FBS kids suddenly looking for new homes.
That's going to be really interesting, and that's where you can win games before the season even starts.
So this portal window is going to be pivotal for. I specifically asked Coach Polisek at the press conference that we had on a little bit ago, just kind of, is the portal, because he's so focused on the recruiting side of things, and then obviously the playoff game. He has left a footprint in recruiting the second he got here. We were getting 20, 25 recruits before he even walked back into Fargo. But with recruiting on the forefront and then the playoff game, is the portal just kind of in the back of your mind? Do you have to have like a strategy for it? And he told us straight up, he was like, I wish it didn't have to be in the back of my mind. He told us that he got about a couple hours of sleep the night before, just because worrying about if anyone else was going, or like, because you're preparing for a playoff game.
Yeah.
You're preparing to play for a championship. And someone could just be off your roster.
Well, and the thing about Polisek is he just kind of embodies this grittiness. I would expect nothing less.
Oh, yeah.
He's not going to sleep if it means sacrificing any potential for a win.
That's
he will go in with 36 hours, eyes taped shut, and then be losing his voice by the end of the game.
And he's ready to go.
Yeah. But it's certainly a lot to look forward to, and we know from any sports season since the portal era began that this is something we are going to keep a pulse on for weeks and months to come.
Yep. I'm actually, I meant to start doing this yesterday, but believe it or not, got a little bit busy with the trip to Grand Forks and back. But we're going to open up a portal tracker on the sports section on valleynewslive.com, and we're just going to keep coming. Any name that we find from any of our local teams that's going into the transfer portal for football, we're going to keep a running list of that. So right now it's Cole Wisniewski and Trey Feeney, and we're going to see what happens from there. So.
And right now it's all kind of speculation, so no point in speculating on the speculation.
No.
We'll see where he goes.
I try not to speculate on the speculations. And real quick, I do just want to mention Cam Miller real
absolutely.
fast, just because he is a dog, and I will mention it any chance I get to. He is now, that'll work. He is one of the 3 finalists now. I don't know how
what in the world?
South Dakota video started playing
again.
Well,
here we go.
There we go. That's
there
him.
It is.
Cam Miller is now one of the 3 finalists for the Walter Payton Award, which has been called the FCS's Heisman. It's given to the best offensive player in the country each and every year, and him along with Tommy Mellott from Montana State, and then there's a third candidate whose name I don't remember. They're going to be in Frisco to see who wins this award no matter what. So Cam Miller has a chance to win some hardware in Frisco no matter what. Of course, as he told us earlier today, which we'll hear from Cam later on this week on Valley News Live, he wants to win the national championship. He doesn't care as much about the Walter Payton Award.
That's exactly what Cam says.
But it's such a big deal for the program to have one of their players win.
I think it helps for recruiting quarterbacks.
Oh, absolutely. Which, like, North Dakota State at this point, for where they recruit, the letters kind of recruit themselves for quarterbacks at this point. But no, it's a big tool to have, and like I think Coach Polisek said in the presser, he said, hey, this is pretty cool. Some of us only play Division III football, so we don't get to see this all the time. I played NAIA football, so when I see somebody playing at a level like this, I love to see it. And so it's not surprising that Cam's one of the top 3, but it is cool, and so I'm going to mention it every chance I get.
Let me get your opinion on something before we move on to our final topic here. I was talking with Bobby in the newsroom, and he was saying, do you think Cam, I think Bobby was saying something along the lines of, like, this guy could be a really good practice squad NFL player. I'm like, I think he's probably on a roster in a really top-tier backup.
I truly think Cam Miller has played himself into a draft pick at this point.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with. I don't think he's like going Trey Lance.
He's not going first overall, but like the Colorado game opened a lot of people's eyes.
Yeah.
And he's only overperformed from there.
And if you're looking at, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that like he got the attention of the nation against Colorado and just continued to do insanely well after that with it, and it's numbers that NFL scouts care about too. It's accuracy, it's precision passing. He's not just chunking it down the field, which that's what I like to see, but I'm not an NFL scout. One interception this season, and it was a bizarre interception against Missouri State, but I digress. But no, I think Cam at this point he is certainly a draft pick. I think Cam Miller and Gray Zabel both might be hearing their names called. And again, Gray Zabel might be a first rounder, but I don't know necessarily when Cam would go. I wouldn't say first round, but he has certainly played himself into NFL position at this point.
When I think about what's a valuable backup quarterback in the NFL, I want some mobility. I want I want accuracy, and I want a calm presence. I want someone who can lead the men out, and where they don't feel like the sky is falling because the star quarterback, whoever that may be, is out. I think Cam is, I don't know, I don't think he's got a John Elway arm.
Right.
But I think he has everything you need to be a pretty darn good backup quarterback in the NFL. And who knows? What does he do? He always seems to exceed expectations. So I'm not putting a ceiling on him either.
No, I haven't since he got in here, just because at the beginning when he started, when they named him the starter over Zeb Noland in the playoffs a few years ago, we knew that there was something special then, because you don't get that call that young if there's not. And then he
arm gets stronger every year. He gets bigger, faster, stronger every year.
And what the NFL is now. I don't know when Ben Roethlisberger would have been drafted in this current version of the NFL. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the NFL is now about quick passes and precision. It's getting the ball out quickly and getting it to the target. And
you put him on the San Francisco 49ers.
I think they'd be fine.
And I think
with a healthy Christian McCaffrey, I think they'd be fine.
Yeah, exactly. Like he's somebody who, if you put him in a situation like that where it is predicated on getting the ball, the playmakers, I mean, he could be really special.
Yeah, and like I said, the NFL's evolved in their passing games now to where Cam has a perfect home in the NFL, I think, somewhere. I don't know where that is, obviously, but I'll go ahead and say it's not probably not like New England or anywhere where they're bad. Probably a good team, but just because I want to see that for Cam.
Yeah, we'll see.
And lastly, before we get out of here, we got some news this morning about the FCS Championship game. Hope you haven't made your travel plans for 25 or 26 yet, because they might be moving it to Nashville, which in Vanderbilt's newly renovated stadium. Basically, what happened is a group got together and put a bid into the FCS to move it to Nashville for 2025 and 2026, because Toyota Stadium in Frisco is going to be undergoing some renovations. They're going to have half of the stadium shut down for remodel one year and then the other half the next year. So it'll be at 50% capacity both years. That's not ideal, obviously.
Yeah, you can't do that for
fans there.
No.
But yeah, no, I think Nashville would be amazing.
Very fun.
Very fun. Me personally, as somebody who covers a team that goes to national championships quite a bit, I would like for it to move to Frisco.
It's also exciting.
Nashville. But
you have some really good up and coming Tennessee teams.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
and that's just something to be aware of. Obviously, no decision has been made yet, but a bid is in to have those championship games in Nashville. I know Bison fans like to book their tickets early, and so wanted to make sure that got out there.
Well, there you have it. A lot to keep our eyes on. Devin, thank you so much for taking some time to join us on the desk here.
Especially this time of year.
Well, we will have a lot to talk about. We'll be keeping a close eye on the bracket and letting you know everything you need to know.
Bracket, portal,
and keep watching if you aren't already. The live press conferences, always getting the most up to date. You want to hear it right from the horse's mouth. That's the way to do it.
You just called Tim Polisek a horse.
Well, he's got the horses on the offensive line or something like that. I don't know.
Whatever.
Yeah, Rams.
That works.
Anyway, have a good day. We'll see you next time.